Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to do D4 openings, the King's Indian Defense or the Indian game as it's called. This is only for black and it starts with D4 played by white. And then instead of D5, you play knight F6. So the point is that you're not letting white expand his center by playing E4. So there are many lines. White mostly plays C4, taking up more space. So you can either play G6 or E6. E6 is called the East Indian Defense and G6 is called the King's Indian Defense. So when you're playing G6, you want to fianchetto your bishop on this side and attack on the long diagonal. So let's start with E6 first. So first you play E6 and then white can play either knight F3 or knight C3. Knight C3 makes it come into the Nimzo Indian defense after bishop B4. What you're trying to do is pinning the knight to the king so that you're still preventing the white pawn on E4 to expand. So white can either play bishop D2, which reinforces the knight, and when it's captured you don't need to double your pawns up, or just develop normally. It's called the three knights variation when you play knight C3. Or you can just protect your pawn. It's called the normal line. Or you can just bring your king out. It's called the Spielmann variation. So it threatens the bishop very quickly and wants it to go away. So here, if you encounter the Spielmann variation, just play C5. Because if takes, then you take with the bishop back. So let's go back here. So instead, if white plays knight F3, then you can do the same thing, just thinking that the knight is still on C3 and play this. You're checking the king, so white has to guard the king. It's called the Bogo Indian defense. And if you just come back here, if you just put knight C3, it becomes the three knights variation. If you do bishop D2, then it's a normal line, which you're threatening the bishop to capture. And white's gonna have a good game because he has already two pawns that are attacking quick, but black can castle and get his king to safety. So black also will do a good job. So instead, if white plays something like this, you don't need to worry, just take away the pawn. But if he plays something else like bishop G5, then because of the pinning on the knight to the queen, you have to be a bit careful because then white can just play E4 and then E5, attacking your knight. So after this, you can do the same thing, checking the king, and if he comes back, then it transforms into the Leningrad variation. White has pretty good chances in winning the Leningrad, but if black plays perfectly, he'll have a good game too. So what I recommend if someone does the Sarah attack is just play A6, H6, threatening the bishop to move. Most players that I play take the horse, take the knight, and my queen takes it. But the problem with taking the knight is that you have a queen now that on F3 that's attacking too many squares at once. So you can also play the annoying H4, which after this you can come back here. The good thing is that black has weakened his king side, and that's a big problem for him. So after this, he can just castle normally when white develops, but his king side is still weak. Okay, so in the Fianchettoed version, you can play knight c3 or knight f3, anything that you like, or any bishop move. But the main objective for black here, after white plays something, is bishop g7. Again, you're attacking on the long diagonal. So if black opens up this pawn, then it's going to be a bit trouble for him. So after white develops normally, taking space, the best move for after g3 is knight c3, because you're targeting to go up e4 again. So after Fianchettoes, you play e4, and it's called a normal variation in one of the main lines. So after e4, black just castles, developing. White has a lot of space, but black is castled, so white has to develop. So white can develop in many ways by putting his horse or protecting with his bishop. Anyways, fine, I'm going to do the bishop version. So here the computer says it's plus 48, plus 50, but it's okay. And after that, you play e6. Because e6 isn't a good move, it's actually better to play d6. So if you had played e6 instead, first of all, it would have blocked in your light squared bishop. And also, when you strike in the center, white can just take with his c-pawn and push this pawn forward. So the best move is actually d6, which targets this pawn on d4, which isn't that well protected. So after developing and protecting this pawn, you strike in the center with e5. So white can move his pawn forward by closing up the center, or he can take, which is a very bad move because you just lost your advantage. So instead, if white closes up the center, it's better because he's more well developed than black. So black also has to develop, but he doesn't have space, right? So knight h5 is a good move here that black can play, trying to come up here, and then you bring your knights here. So let's just say white castles, then you play knight bd7. You're reinforcing this knight so that after it comes here, if the black bishop doesn't take, then the other knight can just go here, reinforcing it. And there's nothing that can kick this knight out because that will weaken white's kingside pawn structure. So here, if instead white plays something else, like pinning the knight, it's okay because the knight's still protected. But if white attacks your knight straight away, then just put it in the corner. It's okay even if it's in the rim. Actually, what you have to do is bring the knight down. You have to bring it back here. Because if you had played knight h5 here, actually wait, yeah, if white attacks and you play knight h5, this is actually trapped and the knight can't go anywhere. So when you come back here, you should actually play after this. If attacks, then you should go back because that's the only move that you have. Anything else gets the knight trapped. I know that all the pieces are on the back rank, but you will get them out slowly. So the best move that I think for white is to just attack the knight. So after attacks, you go back, and when the white develops normally, you can attack it right away by playing f6 or d6, which is also fine. But d6 is better because it opens up your bishop to the long diagonal. And also you can also develop your knight anytime you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel.